Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of the Extraordinary Advisor Show right here on Horse's Mouth Live. And my name is Ellen Rogin, and as always, I have great information to help you in every area of your life, especially your business. And we have a special return guest today, Judy Hoberman, who has not been on the show in quite a while. And we're going to be talking about how women mean business. And we're going to focus on really serving women clients and what's going on in the industry. And we'll probably touch on women advisors as well. And before I introduce Judy, I just want to say that we were talking before we went live that it's so interesting. We still need to have this conversation. Women manage so much and control so much money, not only in the US, but globally. And still, they're not really serviced as well as they could be by the financial services industry. They're looking for more, and we can do a better job, whether you're a woman advisor, a man advisor. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And Judy really knows what she's talking about. This is her area of expertise. She is the president of Judy Hoberman and Associates, a company focused on empowering women. She's a speaker, a coach, a trainer, best-selling author, TEDx speaker. And her role as a coach and trainer has been described as transformational. She's been doing this work for many, many years. And what Judy knows is that men and women lead, sell, and manage differently. We're wired differently. We do things differently. And that when you can understand this, harness everybody's power, you can just excel in so many beautiful ways. So welcome, Judy. Welcome back. It's great to see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been a while, and I always keep track of what you're doing, and I'm always excited to see who you have on your show. So I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, it's so fun. Our overlapping concentric circles. We were not able to figure out how we originally met each other, but it's so nice to have you in our orbit and serving the industry. Judy knows a lot about the financial services industry. She spends a lot of time here. And I just want to just start by asking, when we think of women mean business, what does it mean to financial advisors to be thinking about that?
Well, it's funny that we're still talking about it because in reality, the financial services companies, along with manufacturers of cars and computers and tech and technology and electronics and so on and so forth, they've put their heads in the sand a lot about the spiraling consumer power of women. So instead of trying to figure out how to attract women and try to bring more people in, they continue to think about the fact that men are really the person that they should be concentrating on because they believe that men are responsible for everything besides household items and clothing. And it's craziness because in reality, women make the majority of buying decisions about everything from cars that the families are going to drive to where they bank to where they invest. And everybody knows that this number, 85%, is something that's repeated often because 85% of all buying decisions are influenced by women who are also usually the chief purchasing officers of their households. There's one big difference today, though, because, and you know this as well as I do, Ellen, the big difference now is that women are also the earners. And whether they're dual household incomes or not, women are making money. So before, when they were just the chief purchasing officer in their home, now they're also the person that's the CFO. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And, I think all companies, especially financial services, have to really be more in tune with what's going on out there.
How do you think that the financial services industry specifically misses the mark with working with women? Like, what are they doing or we doing that is either not speaking to women or serving them in a different way than would really feel good? Where do you see some of the blind spots?
It's interesting because we did a survey probably about, well, I'm going to say a million years ago. It was probably only 1 year ago, but it seems like a million years ago. We did a survey with a company and we asked all of the managers to meet with us. because we wanted to really find out what it was that we were missing, because it seems to be missing. When I came in as an advisor years ago, I was the only female for a really long time, and I knew what I was missing, but I wanted to see if that really still existed. So what we were finding is we would ask one specific question, and everybody was separate. It wasn't like anybody was in the same room, so they couldn't hear what the question was, and they couldn't see what we were talking about, because we'd have stuff on the boards. And we asked one question: what does it mean to hear, when you hear the word flexibility or flexible, what does that mean when you're talking about your advisors? And every single one said, it means that women don't want to work as hard. Mm. And we thought, well, that is just like a really interesting concept that you're coming up with, because that's not what flexible means at all. And there's so many men today that need the flexibility of their time as well. And so we try to explain that that wasn't the case. But what we also have to remember is that sometimes women are just not invited in. And many times I've been to offices where it's the one person, they all look exactly the same. And I think if people were more open to what women bring to the table. Now, I have been mentored by very, 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 very experienced and successful men. So I know how valuable they are. I do. And I encourage men to champion women all the time, because we can't do this ourselves. But if we don't invite more women into the industry itself, and if we don't bring more women to the table, we're missing out on 50% of the population. So I think that's one of the things that we're missing, is that we just don't invite. We don't invite them in. And I'm not saying give them a formal invitation or anything like that. I'm saying just to do things that are more on an even keel. You walk into an office and you see everything is either sports related or, kill them, or, let's get them, or things like that. Women are not like that. They're not. Women are relationship animals. They have relationships with everything. So why are we not concentrating more on that, on more of the people skills?
Do you think to serve women clients more effectively, only women advisors can do that well, and that's really the solution for the industry, is to bring more women advisors in?
No, I don't think that's the case at all, because unless you're going to divide all your customers by a demographic, then you're doing them a disservice. I think that men and women are completely different way. They do things differently. They're completely different animals. They are. But we learn so much from the differences, because from the differences, there's so much success. I used to team men and women up, because men are much more transactional, women are much more relational. Well, at some point during the sales process, you have to be transactional, and some part you have to be relational. So what if you team them up and see what the differences are? So I don't believe that that's the case at all. And I have learned so much from, like I said, successful men when I was out selling. And, some things I would never do, because I would never say, here's an index card, give me referrals. I would never talk like that. That's not me. But I would be more on target and say, okay, so here's what we're going to cover, and you have to be able to talk not only about the open-ended questions and get the conversation going, you have to be able to tie them down as well and say, is this what you were saying? Does this make sense to you? So I think the combination is amazing if you do it the right way.
What do you think that women clients are looking for in a financial advisor?
Well, first and foremost, I think that they want somebody that will listen to them. I still get calls. I still get calls from male advisors that say, this is the conversation, I lost another one. I could stop the conversation there because I know exactly what they're going to say. But what they do say is, I didn't have a relationship with her, or her husband's out of the picture and I never had a conversation with her. So women want to be heard. They want to be listened to. But the truth of the matter is that women are looking for financial advisors. They're looking for people that are going to listen. They're looking for people that are going to give them more of the peace of mind that they're looking for. There's some surveys that were done that said that women achieving financial peace of mind is over 7 times more important than accumulating wealth. So, women are looking for that. Women are looking for somebody that is going to listen to their concerns, not just come up and say, oh, you should buy whole life, or you should do this, or you should do that. They think the value of good communication and service is far more important than anything else. They're not looking for a short-term result. They also want to be recognized as equals. So when you have a husband and a wife, we used to tell our female advisors, when you're sitting with a husband and wife, you talk to the wife, because women are territorial. But when you're a man, you have to make sure that you include the wife, because you're very much more, you're more apt to talk to the husband because a lot of times they're the breadwinner. But you have to talk to the woman as well, because that's when you lose them. The other thing is you have to be ready to understand what drives them, what moves them, what are they interested in, what brings them value. And so again, when you're talking about investing money, they have to be able to see what that decision looks like for themselves and their family. But they need to be understood. They need respect. They need trust. They need a connection. And most of all, they want an experience. They want that experience. They want to know. They look at the entire sales process and they want to be included and engaged in every single part of it, because they can easily be put off by anything, including the advisor. So you have to be really, making sure that you are part of that connection, that it's real, because that's what they're looking for.
I had never heard that statistic before, that women are more concerned, or a bigger proportion with them, with peace of mind than necessarily investment returns. And that lands a lot with me, because when I was an advisor, I like to say my superpower was making people feel better about their money. And I had a lot of women clients, 70% or more of my client base were women. And that statistically makes so much sense to me, because I always made them feel better, not in a placating way, but in an authentic way. Really interesting. And I don't know if advisors or male advisors are doing this or they've gotten better, but I remember years ago witnessing advisors really being condescending with women. And I had an experience last summer. We were interviewing someone to do some lawn work for us, and the guy came out and he gave me this proposal that didn't really make sense. So I asked him to explain. He goes, "Oh, I know these numbers can be confusing." And I haven't been a CPA in many years, but believe me, I was like, I'm a CPA. Like, don't talk down to me. And he didn't even realize, even after I said that, like, he didn't even realize he did that. And it still irks me that he talked to me like I didn't understand numbers and just assumed I didn't, because, I was the wife.
Right.
So
right.
Do you still see, and because I don't think, he clearly didn't do that intentionally, but do you think that there's this tendency for men to still be a little bit condescending in the way that they're talking with women about their money or their investments?
I'm sure there are some that just do it because that's part of their personality and that's how they, make a living or whatever. They're a true salesperson when you think about it. But I do think that most men don't realize when they're condescending. They honestly don't. I was in a meeting and it was myself and like 5 other men, and the facilitator was also male. And it was my turn, because you got a turn every other week or so, your turn to talk about your business and so on and so forth. And so after I did, everybody's going, "Oh my goodness, I didn't realize you did this and I didn't realize you do that." And so the facilitator was fine with it. When he was done, he was asking a question. Now, I have not been dubbed the question queen for no reason. And so, of course, I had a question. So I raised my hand and he said, "What?" Just like that. And I asked him the question. And then he said to me, "Well, and then he gave me this answer. And then he asked me a question. So I gave him, my thoughts. And he said, "Okay." The guy next to me raises his hand, and it was almost like, I don't know if you remember the commercial, "Is it real or is it Memorex?" But he repeated every single thing I said verbatim. And the facilitator said, "Wait, slow down. I have to get this on the board." And so, I was like, "What?" And so one of the other guys said, "She just said the same thing." And he said, "She did?" And so I said, "Yeah, it's really very difficult for me to participate when whatever I'm saying, you are either speaking over me or not listening to me." He said, "Do I do that?" I said, "Well, you just did." He said, "Well, you have to point this out for me." I said, "Well, I just did." He said, "Oh, honey." Wait, he goes, "Oh, honey. So should I be walking on eggshells now?" Okay. Condescending to the umpth degree. But people do that and they don't realize it. I think he was the case that he did realize it, but that's how he got away with things. "Oh, honey this," or "honey that." But I do think that male advisors have to be really careful when they're explaining something like, the different types of insurance, or financial planning, or, indexes, or whatever, numbers that they're going to throw out and words they're going to use. You don't have to be condescending. You could say, I want to explain something to you. I usually have trouble with this as well, so I wanted to make sure you didn't. Or explain it and say, this is something that's new to us, so let's go over this together. Something like that, where you would take out the, being condescending right off the table.
Are there good questions you would suggest in that realm of building relationship or getting to know someone or having women clients feel more comfortable? Are there certain open-ended questions or things that you think are really great for an advisor to ask when they're in a meeting with a prospect or a client?
Yeah. So when I was selling and we were talking about any kind of insurance whatsoever, I would never ask them if they want insurance, who the beneficiary is, when did they want to start, how much did they want to spend. I never asked that question. What I would say to them is, tell me why putting this policy in place today is so important to you. Okay. And then I would just stop, because I would get who the beneficiaries, I would get what they want to spend, I would get when they wanted to start, I would get, everything, but I also got their why. Why is this important? The question that every advisor should want to get out is something about their why. Why is it that you're sitting in front of them, a husband and wife, a wife, it doesn't matter who it is. Why is it so important that you're there? Why? Is there a story? Because there's usually a backstory. But the problem is that after you ask the question, you better be ready to listen. And so one of the things I have always taught everybody, including myself, is I always ask permission to take notes. So if I was just meeting you for the first time, Ellen, I would say, are you okay if I take notes? You're either going to say yes or no. Whatever. Nobody's ever said no to me about that. So here I am taking notes because I am listening very carefully about what they're saying to me in their own words. And I would never get that if I didn't ask for that particular piece of information. And then when you're able to come back and say, okay, so the reason that you want to do this today is because of this. Let's make sure we get this covered for you. So that's a huge question to ask. You're getting their why. Once you get their why, everything else falls into place because they're giving it to you. Now, there are some people that won't. Some people go, no, yeah, I just need insurance. Just give it to me. So you have to go with that as well. That's more transactional. But 99% of the time, people are going to tell you things that they probably have never said out loud.
That's a beautiful question. And why is this so important to you? It gets to their values. As you said, it gets to the people that are important to them. And, that one of the things we talk about in the Extraordinary Advisor Masterclass is mindful listening. And this is the second or third time you've said that about how important it is to really being able to listen to people. And it's not only because you get all that great information, but there's this sense of feeling heard. And I think that most people don't have that sense. And if we had a guest on the show earlier, the start of COVID, who said one of the worst things that advisors have to deal with is that fact that they're advisors and they always want to be advising. And sometimes we just have to be quiet and know that that's one of the best things or the greatest gifts you can give to somebody.
Yes, and the greatest compliment you could get as a salesperson, as an advisor, whatever you want to call yourself, because we're all salespeople, but the best compliment you could ever receive is, wow, you really listened. You can't get it. There's nothing better than that, seriously. But when you asked a question about questions, there's another question that if you're doing financial planning, if you're doing something where you're taking money from somebody to invest in their future, in their retirement, whatever the retirement looks like. You could always say, what does retirement look like for you? But my favorite question, it comes from the book Power Questions, which is one of my favorite books, obviously, Question Queen. But my favorite question of all times is, what do you still want to accomplish? That opens a door that you have no idea. Floodgates open. Because when you ask that question, and I've asked it for very high-powered men, and they will tell me things that they have never told anybody before about things that they still want to get done. And it brings the relationship to a whole different level because they know that you really are interested in them. The first thing they usually say back is, no one's ever asked me that before. So it's a great question, and it really will solidify the fact that you are a trusted advisor to them because you've asked this question and now you're taking notes about what it means to them. So that's another great question.
And I imagine it's almost like a coaching question where they think about things. It's not that no one else has ever asked them. They may not have thought about that themselves.
Themselves.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a really great question. Um, what else? What do you still want to accomplish? Beautiful. Um, yeah. So let's flip the table a little bit. As women advisors, you mentioned that sometimes they're more relational and they don't necessarily ask for that transaction. What are some things that women should really be aware of as they're dealing with, whether it's their women clients or their male clients, in particular, in terms of how they communicate with them?
It's the same thing. You have to take your lead from the person that you're sitting with. So if I asked a question and the response I get back was, "Yeah, of course, nope," I know that this person is more of a bottom line person. So I would ask the questions, tell me what you want to accomplish today. And just start that way, because then you're going to see if they still want to get to the bottom line, 1, 2, 3, or if they really just needed to get comfortable with you. But I always make sure, male or female, that I treat them exactly the same way, with respect. Because when you treat somebody with respect, when you invest in them, they're going to invest in you. And that's really what this is all about. This is about relationships. You have to understand that finances are one of the most misunderstood topics. And for women, it goes back to where we were brought up. Money doesn't grow on trees, money is the root of all evil, all of that kind of stuff. So when women are learning more about their finances, they're sharing them with their friends and their family. Who would be better than sharing that with their clients than women if you're still learning it yourself? But you think about the referrals that you give out, think about the relationships that you build. When you also, you talk about women in this amazing industry, it's not as difficult as you think. If this is the number one relationship driven industry and women are the best at building relationships, yet for some reason, 1 + 1 doesn't always equal 2. Why is that? Because women are better listeners. And sometimes when you have a male advisor that's not listening, the industry gets a bad name. So that's what I'm saying. I used to team up men and women, but women build relationships. They're nurturers. They are, I'm not sure if this, I don't know what the actual statistic is, but more life insurance is sold to women. So they get into the lives of other women easier. They're sensitive, they're multitaskers, they're good listeners. And this industry, like I said, is flexible. It has training, it has advancement, it has leadership, all the things that are important to women. So if the position is perfect for women and women are perfect for the position, where's the confusion? So I always talk about that women have to be part of the trusted source. They want respect, they want trust, they want value, they want relationships, they want connection, and they want opportunities. So whether you're male or female, if a woman is going in to talk to a male or a female, it's the same thing. They sell the same way that they buy. It's the same thing. If they're buying something from you, they want that respect, they want that trust, they want that value, want relationship, want the connection. They want all of that. If they're going to be selling to you, it's the same thing, male or female. They want the same thing that they want if they were buying.
When you were saying at the start of the interview that 85% number, where I thought you were going, was that 85% of financial advisors are men, which is, so I was in the industry for more than 25 years, and that percentage eked up like 1 or 2% in the entire time I was there. And I agree with you. It's confounding because this is a super flexible industry. Women can do really well. I was at all my kids' school events. I made a very, very nice income from my practice. I'm wondering if COVID and people working from home will actually be a great way to reset and getting more women into the industry or keeping them staying, because if you don't always have to have FaceTime in the office, but you could still do a good job, and clients are really used to corresponding via video. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, if you think this could be a really great shift for us.
Well, I think that's a great point because you're able to see more people without having to travel anywhere. You just have to be comfortable doing this, and so does your client. And it's interesting because when this whole thing first started, a lot of my my clients, financial advisors, were saying, I just don't know how I'm going to be able to do appointments because I can't see anyone. And I have, how do you do fact finding and how do you do all of this? So I say to them, so what did you do when you met someone in person? Did you just automatically meet with somebody and whip out an application and say, let's go? They said, oh, no, that's so silly. I would invite them to coffee. So I would look at them and say, okay, so invite them to a virtual coffee, 15 minutes just to get to know you. And then when you're done, schedule another one for a little bit longer. And then you could do your fact finding. And it was almost as if no one has ever said that before, because they would look at me and go, really? That's it? I'm like, try it. What's the worst that's going to happen? It's not going to happen. Or what's the best that's going to happen? It is. So I don't think it's that much different. And I do think it could be a reset because women are a little bit more comfortable seeing people this way than having to drive somewhere or having to go somewhere where they're not sure where that person's going to show up or not, or that people are just, they're not all great people or whatever it is. So I think that this is a really good way to do it. I work a lot with financial advisors, and we have, roundtables where we have a peer advisory. And a lot of them have said that if it wasn't for this group working together, they would have left because they thought that they were the only one that was going through this. They were the only one that was nervous about this. And when you realize that you're not the only of anything, it's a little bit easier to handle.
Yeah, I know when I first got into the industry for the first bunch of years, there was always one other woman financial advisor in the Chicago area I would meet with on a regular basis. And it kind of changed over time, but I hadn't thought about what great support that was. And I never saw anybody as competition because someone who would feel comfortable with me might, not feel comfortable with the other person or the other way around.
Right.
And that's really interesting. And I think I love to think that advisors are being flexible with this. I was talking to a manager of a wirehouse office, and he told me that 2/3 of his advisors just can't wait. Like they're waiting to get back in front of people. And I'm like, 2/3? Yes, of course it's lovely. You can read things more. It's weird looking into the camera and not looking into the eye. Like there's challenges, clearly. But things may never go back the way they were. And for someone to not embrace this, I understand change is hard for us, but I see it as an incredible reset and opportunity. And you could look at it as, wow, now I can have clients all over the country.
Correct.
Assuming licensing and stuff works. Right. You could also look at it as my clients can work with any advisor in any part of the country. So it's a different type of competition.
Yeah, but it's also, you can also, I was just going to say resilience, because that's exactly what it is. But here's the other thing, Ellen, you could also create a workshop. You could also, those workshops that you were doing, if you were doing Medicare and you were doing educational workshops, you could do them virtually. Your clients don't have to travel anywhere either. So it's, it's all that kind of stuff, but it's all about resiliency, because when you are pushed down, it's how you come back up. And a lot of us, anybody that speaks for a living, we were all wiped out in the matter of a blink. There was no more live speaking. What do? You have to go back and you have to be resilient and you have to figure out a different way of doing things. How many people became, did some new collaborations with people that they hadn't even thought about, or created products and services that they hadn't even thought about because you had to do something or you were out of business. And I think that part of this whole thing is, we're still talking about women. We are. And some people think it's the buzzword and it's going to go away. It's not going to go away. Women are not a niche market. Women are not the minority. They're not. And I always say, my tagline is, women want to be treated equally, not identically. We want the same opportunities, and then let us do what we do best. You have to remember that no matter what side of the table you're sitting at, when you ask questions, when you listen, when you build relationships, the bottom line is that women mean business. The more women you sell to, the more business there is, the more women on your team, the stronger it is, because women mean business. And that's what you have to remember. If you don't have any women on your team, if you don't have any women as clients, just think about it. Maybe take a little, like a flip, and look at things a little bit differently. Women do take longer. They do, because they're trying to process how everything is going to react with their family. Women don't just buy things for themselves when they're buying an insurance product. They want to see what's going to happen to their family. So they take a little bit longer. They ask a lot of questions. They go and they talk to other people and say, have you ever bought from her before? They do, but they mean business, because once you have a woman as a client and she trusts you, guess what she does? She refers you out like crazy. So it really is it's an interesting prospect, and I'm really hoping that we're going to see the needle move in 2021 a little bit more than it has been moving, because why not? Why not at least give it a shot? And why not bring more women into this incredible industry that relies on their relationships? That's my question.
Well, that is a perfect place for us to tie this together. Women mean business. Judy, if people want to learn more about your coaching or training or all the wonderful things you do, where should they go? How can they find you?
You should always connect with me somewhere on social media. I'm either Selling in a Skirt or Judy Hoberman. And the reason I say that is because you never know who I know that you might need to know. And I'm a really good connector. I love to connect people. If I could do that for a living, that would be awesome. But I'm pretty sure my mortgage company doesn't like it, because you don't make anything. But that's the first part. The second thing is you should go to my website, Selling in a Skirt, because we have all kinds of great things on there. We've got, there's things that you can download. There's audio, there's video. There's everything on there. My books are on there. And we have a sales program called Skirt Strategy that's on it. And it's like amazing. It's for women, by women. But I have to say, we bring a lot of men in as well. But it is sales, and it is a different way of doing selling. It's not just, let's get in, get out, and get the check, which is how I was trained. So
great. Beautiful. So great to have you back on, Judy, and
thank
lovely to be
you.
connected with you here again. And for all of you watching and listening, thank you for being here with us. Just really love having you as part of the community. If you have suggestions for me of guests or other shows or questions, please leave a comment wherever you're watching this, or you can reach out to me, Ellen Rogin. And you can find out more about me at ellenrogin.com. But I also want to let you know that we have another Extraordinary Advisor Masterclass starting on April 1st. And a lot of what Judy was talking about today, we're going to cover. We have a whole section on communicating with your clients and having influence in a way that they can hear. We talk a lot about mindful listening and making deep connections and working with the right kinds of clients that are right for you. So if you want to increase your influence, your impact, and your income, go check this out. And you can find that. There's a link below at horsesmouth.com/masterclass. I would love you to play with us if this is something that sounds like a fit for you. And until next time, the question to ponder is, how big of a positive impact are you willing to make? Please remember that women mean business. And also remember to be great and create great every single day.